Wow.
You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Well, you can always tell when you're dealing with a professional, because as soon as we went on air, he put the cans on. And he sort of loosely got them on.
Well, I want to know whether I'm coming through, whether you're coming, how it's all sounding. You know, I'm a bit of a control freak. There's cameras everywhere. There's microphones. I'm sounding fantastic.
So that voice there is the voice of a man. A person. A male.
I can be a man?
Oh, no. Gee, not today, you can't be. I've been trying to have a chat to for best part of 2 years, and his itinerary and diary didn't fit in with the day we used to do.
Well, you can say why.
Well, I'm about to say why.
Okay.
Because we do the podcast on Wednesday, and I do it with Wayne Carey, but this happens not to be a Wednesday, and it fitted in with his schedule because most times I asked him, he said he had home duties or had to transport or ferry children or young ones to school or pick them up. And I said, well, now we can do it any day now. And he said, well, that's a bit different. And this happens to be not a Wednesday, but it doesn't matter for the sake of this chat. Is that vaguely right? This is the great Glenn Robbins.
Well, what a beautiful intro, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm very impressed with all the things I've seen in front of me right now, and I drove here going, what do I bring to this buffet? I hope I can bring something of interest.
That is a very interesting thing you say. Just let me tell you here, this is for the people listening to this' sake, this is a compendium of the work he's done. It goes through. It just. I'll show you I just show it to you here on here. It's impossible. It's impossible. I don't know if you can see that. Can you? You can't. No. It's impossible to go through all the things that this man has been involved with and done. But we're going to touch on a few of them. And what I'm going to ask you, Glenn, is that many times, I interview people, and when we've turned the microphone off and the camera off, they said, oh, did you know? I said, you're telling me that now? I said, why didn't you mention that? Now, if we get to a various stage of this conversation and you have a very interesting thing that I would not possibly know about, for the sake of the people who watch this, and we're very popular, I'd like you to, I don't need you to give me a hand with the interview, but if there was something I missed and wouldn't know about, maybe you could volunteer it.
By all means, I'm a lateral man, and I love minutiae. I love little things. And I'm prepared to pull my pants down, so to speak, and allow you to look into whatever crevice you want to look into. But having said that, I'm very happy to go lateral. And I know that you and I have spent a lot of time together in golf carts with the great man, Jimeoin, and we never found it that hard to have a chat. And I was endlessly fascinated by your opinions, and you and Shane would have healthy discussion, very robust discussion, and I couldn't bring much to that conversation because I don't profess to be an expert about football or cricket, but I always felt that I was a part of it.
Now, you possibly have been looking at my notes. You haven't?
No, I haven't. I've seen you've got it.
I was going to start by saying this has nothing to do with really what I got you in here for, and I was going to get on to Shane because the last time, can you see his face, or is he covering his face with his microphone? The last time we spoke together, I reckon your biggest audience ever and mine a millionfold. I reckon there was 1.5 billion people watching us at the Jimeoin Memorial at the MCG, where we sat up on the stage with Andy Lee.
Yes.
Dimmer, who's Dimitriou Makaramis.
Good on you for remembering that.
Makaramis. Myself, you, and Aaron Hamill.
Well done. I would not have passed that test if you had have asked me.
And we sat there, and they went through all the different family and and then it was our turn to speak, and we spoke about the great man. Now, I want it, just so we'll get this out of the way first, not out of the way. How did you were on Shane Warne's foundation. You were a member of that, on the board of that.
Yes.
How did you meet Shane? How did he gravitate towards you? Just give us a bit of history about Shane and maybe a reminisce or an anecdote.
Well,
people are fascinated by him
I was always a fan of Shane's work, as we all were, and I managed to meet him on a program called The Panel that I did many years ago, and we just kind of clicked. And it was one of those things. If you're a member of my father used to be a member of the Masonic Lodge. And that meant we would do things together at the Masons, but we are a member of the golfing fraternity. And so if you meet another man, you can organise a date, which is let's have a game of golf sometime. And we organised to have a game of golf, and then through that we just became friends, and you were more than often at that golf day or golf event, and we just became friends. We clicked, and I don't know what it was. I found him a very kind, gentle, supportive, and someone who went beyond the hellos and how are you. He would grab a hold of you and go, no, how are you really? And he was very perceptive. And no wonder he was a good bowler, because he really could work out there was something going on, and he would dig deep on it, and he would often find it, and he would have a few words that would get you back on track. And I cherish that time, and I miss him dearly.
So I get asked a lot about exactly the same question I've just asked you about Shane. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to the recording of this. I'm going to write down exactly what you said, because that is about as perceptive a thing as you could say about Shane Warne, and I wish I had said that. I'll probably say it in different ways. Do I take it that Shane wasn't a Mason, is he? Was he?
No, I say that meaning in terms of when men have reasons to get together.
Yeah.
Whereas my dad, so that gave, I know at my dad's funeral, there were a lot of people who were Masons.
I see, yep.
So when you meet someone who is a golfer, you go, like I've said to my dentist, do you want to play golf? And he goes, I don't play golf. So you can't have a man. I don't want to have lunch with him. I don't want to have a coffee with him, but I can go and play a game of golf with him. And you can do something other than stare across a table at someone pushing food into their face, which I don't really enjoy doing.
So you were a constant on the panel, a semi-regular or regular on the panel for how many years?
I would say that would be 7 or 8. That started in 98, and I think it finished around about 07.
And he was obviously an invited guest for one of
these.
And he came on and regaled everyone with stories.
Oh, absolutely.
Couldn't regale him with too many stories out of left field, because as we found out, if you ever played a round of golf with him, he had a black book that if you fell off, you'd probably, you wouldn't live. You'd need a parachute.
Look, again, things pop into my mind that Shane had said to me over the years, which were beyond belief. As far as all I'll say is he lived a life.
I think I can say this. I said on the memorial thing, it came to me and they went down the line. I said if they could ever get hold of his phone, it would be impounded, hopefully by the family. If they could ever get hold of his phone, you can have a mini series that'd last forever.
Well, that's exactly right. I know when it came down the line to me, we would sit in the golf cart and he would regale stories that were jaw dropping as far as living a life, as I said.
World celebrities.
And then he'd say, "How? What have you been up to?" And I'd say, "Well, I've started doing Pilates," and that's as good as I'd. That was it. He goes, "Oh, that's good."
Yeah, that's it. No, that's actually spot on.
And he wasn't competitive. No, he was always passionate about what you were doing. But part of me also went, Shane, please don't tell me, because if this story was to go somewhere, I don't want to be the one that. But he never. He was a man that who was absolutely incredibly honest about the relationship with you, and so you can't deny that in someone. So you can't say stop being like that, because that's what made him who he was.
And some of those hair-raising drives up to what's the golf? Yeah, through the Black Spur up to the golf course.
Cathedral.
The cathedral. Yeah, he would say exactly the same thing. I said, what did he do? He said, well, I'm going over to India for the cricket. I've got a team over there. He said, then I'm flying to London. I've got a couple of things to do over there, and then I'm doing a hair commercial for someone. And then I'm going, and he said, and you? I said, yeah, I got a speaking engagement in Footscray next week at a sports night. And that would be the end of the conversation. And then we'd knuckle down with the white knuckles as he drove through the Black Spur on the way to the cathedral.
Yeah, I dare say you would have driven through in one of your beautiful vehicles.
No,
it was always with him, was it?
No, Shane always drove.
Oh, okay.
Had the latest car either sponsored or given to him or he's bought, and it was always a.
Well, he let me drive one of them.
Very, very proud.
It was he allowed me to drive around Brighton in his, I'm going to say, he wouldn't mind me saying it was a Lamborghini. Now, I'm not going to ask whether you have a Lamborghini because that would be inappropriate. But that thing was a weapon, a thing not to be driven through suburban streets. But
by him.
By
not
him.
By him.
Or me, for that matter.
No. Anyhow, that's the great Shane Warne, the late great Shane Warne. And so he started a charity, and he had Eddie,
Rob Sitch,
I think.
Let's not go down because I won't.
And Peacock, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. I won't remember. I'm not great with.
Anyhow,
a lot of very good
heavy
people.
Hitters that. Did the charity? So that must have been
incredibly gratifying and incredibly tough thing to do, given that we only had a certain amount of money and we had to make decisions that were tough. Yep. And making money in the charity world is incredibly hard. And people out there who are doing it, remember, the charity dollar doesn't come easily, and it costs a lot of money to do the functions and so forth. And we did our very best, and we helped a lot of people.
So this is a ham-fisted way of doing this, but I should have done this at the start. But Glenn Robbins, you're a comedian, a writer, an actor, a TV and radio presenter. You're probably a after-dinner speaker. You're probably plenty of things. No. And what I want to know is, most of your characters, Kel Knight.
Kel Knight.
Oh, Kel Glaire's the police minister. Jesus, how am I going? Kel Knight. Thank you, Kel Glaire. Uncle Arthur.
Uncle Arthur, correct.
I had
Russell Coight.
Russell Coight, I got them all written down here.
Yeah.
They all seem to be parody and satirical characters, a bit on the buffoonish.
Yes.
I can say this because I was on a show for 25 years and I was asked to be a buffoon. So they were all a bit codgerish and all that. Did you like doing that? Was it a means to an end? And because they were very successful, did you enjoy doing those characters?
Well, that's how I kind of started, really. I went to drama school. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be on a television show called The Sullivans. And then I discovered a place called The Last Laugh where people could get up and do characters. So back in the day when I started, back in the early 80s, it was much more cabaret than stand-up. And I started playing around with Uncle Arthur and a number of different characters on stage. And so when I had the opportunity to go into television, I had all these characters up my sleeve. And I was lucky. I was working with very good people, and they were very successful. The short answer is I adored doing all of those characters.
Uncle Arthur was on the
comedy company.
And you studied at the Melbourne State College.
No, I did. Well, you've done your research. Well done.
You studied at that, but you also are a Bachelor of Education.
Correct. Yes, I was a drama teacher.
Were you ever a teacher?
I used to do part-time teaching, and then I would get home at about 4 o'clock, have a little sleep, and then go out and do a comedy gig. So that was my life for about 7 years as I sort of learnt my trade on the comedy circuit, and then eventually moved into television. But I didn't. So the short answer is I didn't teach really, not really.
So this was a question I said to Sue. Now we got Glenn coming in. He said, ask him. This is her question. Did Did you think you were humorous at school?
I did.
Did you hold the rest of the lads or girls, whoever you went to school with? Did they gravitate to you because you had a sense of humour they enjoyed?
Yes, I think there was a sense of mischief in me.
Dry humour.
Yeah, well, I think I'd like to be the centre of attention, and I know it won me favour with the tougher guys at school, so therefore I could make them laugh. So I was okay. But yeah, I think I have two brothers that are very funny. My mother was a great storyteller. My father was based. Uncle Arthur was based on my father. He had a
was it?
Yeah, and so I do find myself. If you met me at a party, you probably think I was slightly disappointing. But given the right time and the right people, I'm very happy to to grab the attention and do things that are inappropriate.
Coaxed.
Yeah, well, not much.
No, not much.
But I see it in my brother's kids, and I see it. It's something in the DNA that just wants to be a little bit juvenile and a little bit silly, and have fun with the moment, and not take anything too seriously.
Now, speaking of DNA, we haven't, as I understand it, Glenn, we haven't got a follow-on of the genes of the Glenn Robbins institution. You don't have any offspring, as I understand it?
Oh, no, I don't. No, I have.
Clumsy way to say you've got any kids.
I don't. No, I don't. I've been in a long relationship with my partner, and she has a daughter. So, we're not married, but we have effectively. She's been with me for such a long time. She's a stepdaughter, and she's gone on to have her own kids. So I'm enjoying the fruits of young children running around the house as we speak, and that's part of the reason they couldn't come in on a Wednesday, because I'm doing that. So I don't, but I do in a roundabout way, sort of. Not roundabout. Yes, directly I do in terms of my partner.
There's another question Sue said. If he's asking about he hasn't got any children, if he had a boy or a girl, this is from her over there. She said, if you had a boy or a girl, what would you call them? What would you call a boy if you had one?
Oh.
There's a question without notice off the top of your head. I might leave you to ruminate on that.
I remember lying on the floor and watching a musical called Carousel, and there was a song in there called My Boy Bill Will Be Tall and Tough as a Tree.
My Boy Bill, he's my boy Bill.
Yeah,
that's right.
My Boy Bill. Yeah, and we had a dog called Bill, and I'm only saying that right off the top of my head. If I gave it more thought, I'd probably come up with a better name. But anyway, there you go.
It's an interesting thing, My Boy Bill. It just depends where you put the comma in that sentence.
Yes.
He's my boy Bill. It's not he's my boy Bill.
Yeah, exactly.
It took me a while to work out, was he singing about a bloke called Bill, or was it telling Bill that is my girl over there, leave her alone, Bill? That's my naive way of trying to work out what that song meant. So, do you find in this the contrived indignance of the world today, have you had to cut back on who you send up, who you make fun of, how you speak, who you portray in the name of humour and satire and parody? You'll have the people who will sit there and thinking, that's disgraceful, he said that about... Here's me saying this. I could play you in spades as far as that goes. But have you had to cut back on anything you've done? Has the producers, the editors, the script writers have to tailor what you do and what you say because you're a comedic character? Has that impacted on you at all? Has it given you grief?
This is a conversation I have in my head very often, because I know I have fairly strong opinions in this area, and if I go too far down that road, I just venture into areas that people will go, well, you're inappropriate and you need to be...
Cancelled.
Yep. So I do find it, I'm going to say, confusing. So luckily I work with people who will allow me to do what I do, and then they will edit out the things that I'm saying that are crossing the line. I am yet to work out what the line is and where it exists. I know my job is to make fun and make jokes, and they're just words. If I upset people, unfortunately, that's the way it goes. If people say jokes about me, it upsets me too. I'm not sure how to quantify it, how to do it, how to survive. I feel that if I was to put a tape recording on everyone, they would have said and done things that would get them struck off, cancelled. Yet a person says something offhand with not bad intention, and it becomes major front page news, and good people are being taken off air because they make one small mistake. But there seems to be a feeding frenzy that can go on. They're
giving out gold medals for those who can be absolutely the offended the most, and it's a contest to see who in the society of the small minority can be offended the most, and have people shout at people who are only just trying to, tongue-in-cheek, make some humorous asides to an audience.
Well, I mean, I've been made fun of, and it's not pleasant. But you go, that's the way it goes.
How have you been made fun of?
People have said things about me, written things about me. Not that much.
Jesus, toughen
but
up,
I don't go online and look at it. And on occasion when I have, I don't enjoy it. So I don't look at it. I don't read it. But it's not fun. But you go, that's the gig. That's the way it goes. And occasionally, but I don't think people deserve to be lose their career over it.
Well, God, toughen up, mate. Hear what has been said in the public by people, just journalists, said about me, and the stuff they say about me online. And Sue will back this up. I actually find it entertaining. I like to read it. How
there is
how annoyed and how abusive people can become over one person, and they think that they probably get some joy in the fact and gratification they think it's going to affect that person. I on the other hand, enjoy it. I think, how could you sit there and write that? And who cares?
I equate it to when you're walking down the street and you walk past a house and there's a dog behind the fence and the dog starts barking at you. So what I do is I get to the end of the fence and then I kick the fence so the dog barks more. So basically, and I enjoy that the dog is now frustrated because now I'm kicking the fence and I'm going to make... So there's a little bit of that in it. If you cannot take it personally or not be cancelled by your employers, then I don't know, is it a game? Again, talking about this, I'm sure you can pick out things in what I'm going to say and say, well, you're bad because...
No, it's not an well, I suppose it is an occupational hazard, but I actually think it's swinging back the other way. I think people like Ricky Gervais said,
yes,
it doesn't matter what you say about anyone or any situation, as long as it's just a general comment. You're not actually having a go at the person or the situation themselves. It's just, seriously, if... the hyperbole attached with humour, if we don't have exaggeration, you don't have it, because it's what's the point of it?
Well, I'm sure back in the day when people would do pieces of art and then there'd be outcry in different parts of the community saying you can't do pictures of people in the nude. I'm just making this up. But then they're going on, but that's what art is. It's to challenge and a lot of the time, to give you a reaction. And if you are offended, then so be it. But what goes around comes around.
So which character did you get the most enjoyment out of? I mean, there's... I don't know if people,
you can't compare them really, because they're all different parts of me.
Knight, not Kel Glare. Russell Coight. So when I saw you first do Russell Coight, I immediately thought of David Attenborough, who would say, "And here under a rock is so you can see," and he was dead serious about it. And you seemed to take the urine out of David. Not that you would do that, because he is a marvellous man.
Because I'm sure he listens to this podcast.
Did you model some of
David
Attenborough?
No, well, there was the Leyland brothers and Steve Irwin and a lot of greats out there.
Green and
and all of those.
Who? Albie Mangles.
Albie Mangles, correct. And so Tom Gleisner actually came to me with the idea, saying, I've got this character, because he did the character originally on The Late Show.
Russell Coight?
No, I had a different, I forget what the name of the character was.
Coight, of course, being a euphemism for your ass, isn't it? I often use the term "all coit." I said you got a kick in the coit, and I was doing that well before Russell Coight came.
Well, there you go.
I thought,
I
what
think
a fantastic name.
There were those who knew that, and there were those who didn't know that. But yes, you're spot on. A wide brown circular opening, as Russell Coight would say, which is what Australia is. And so, what was the question again?
What was the question about Russell Coight?
My
Did
favourite.
you model it on David Attenborough?
No, I just took elements of I took elements of those characters, and I basically made him someone who was not as good as he thought he was. So
of course.
And I'm good at that.
You've carried that on with the Mitsubishi ads.
I have, and thanks Mitsubishi for allowing me. And the question there is, why would you do an ad instead of doing a whole series? We just ran out of jokes, and so we get to go out and be Russell Coight for a week out in the middle of nowhere, and they allow us to do fun things, and we don't have to do a whole TV series, and we can put Russell Coight back in the kit and see him again in a couple of years. So hopefully that relationship continues.
And then you turned that into, where have I got that written down, Sue? The Adventures, All Aussie Adventures.
That's the same thing.
It was Russell Coight.
Yeah, that's the name of the show.
I know that's the name of the show. But that's not the name of Russell. Is Russell Coight in All Aussie Adventures?
Yes.
Well, I thought Russell Coight was on the comedy.
No, he was on the.
No, he was too.
Russell Coight came out in the.
Russell Coight. Was there a show on television called All Aussie Adventures? I know it's on YouTube now.
It's the show called All Aussie Adventures. That was the show that Russell Coight
launched him.
Yeah, it was the make-believe show that he was on, if you like.
Yes. Where did Russell Coight first appear?
On the show called All Aussie Adventures, starring Russell Coight.
On free-to-air television?
On free-to-air television.
Is that right?
Well, as I said before, Tom Gleisner did it before me on one of their shows, but he then decided he wanted to make it into a series.
What did he call Russell, not Coight?
Well,
were you not allowed to?
No, I can. I just can't remember.
Oh, I see.
It was like Wallaby Jack or something like that. Yeah. And I'm sure people are yelling at the podcast now who know the history of that character.
So then you were Wayne Wheeler. You had a crack at
upper middle. Well, you would have loved doing
middle bogan.
Well, I was approached about doing that by some friends of mine, and I wasn't sure, and they said, "Oh, it's a character based around a drag team," and I went, "Well, there's a world I've never been into." So I get to spend a lot of time up at Calder up here, surrounded by big engines and big men doing big things with fast cars, and thoroughly enjoyed it. And I had a big family, and I had daughters, and I had a lovely wife, so I could be family man. And I don't know whether you've ever stood behind a drag car, but
a drag car.
I've
never stood behind a drag queen, but have stood behind a drag car.
Careful.
They probably have the same explosive acceleration.
No, but they said to me the day before, they said, "Have you ever been near one of these things?" When they call it a rocket.
Yeah.
And I kind of went, well, I have driven in the Formula One Grand Prix celebrity event. I think I know what I'm doing, and I think I know what it's like to be around a loud car. I got to tell you, it is the loudest thing I've ever heard, with the fuel and with the vibration of, and I'm not making this up to be funny, with the vibration that goes through the ground as that thing explodes in front of you, you will nearly lose control of a certain part of your body.
Yeah, no, and
you do. It just goes through you, and you can't believe the energy that is happening in front of you. It's hot. It's ethanol, is it?
I was going to say nitro something.
Yeah, it's something explosive, and we would do that 2 or 3 takes. And if you watch very carefully, I was meant to look like I had done it 100 times, but on my face, luckily I had sunglasses on, because I'm going, holding my breath, trying to look, rugged, and not doing very well. And then they yell cut, and you would just step away going, oh my God,
yeah, I know.
I've shat myself.
when I watch the drags, like the real big dragsters, not the ones that they've got the silhouette shape of a Holden, or when they've got the serious big the wheels and just the frame and the two little wheels.
Yep, that's the one.
Whenever I watch it, I think, who are the people who get up in the morning and go to work and make those things, and why? It's just a labour of love, isn't it? Imagine the mechanical nous you'd have to...
You'd have to understand that, given your love of cars.
But why would... I suppose the great thrill of building the fastest dragster in the world or in Australia is it's not a big field, is it? Is it? Or is
no, it's not, and I believe it's probably hard. It is hard to make money, and to launch a vehicle like that, just to have it go down the track one time, costs thousands of dollars, and they basically have to rebuild it after they do it. But having said that, I think if you're addicted to... When you drive your cars, let's not get to... What satisfaction do you... I don't want to get... But I know you love great cars. What satisfaction do you get from driving a beautiful car? There's one sitting out the front right now, which is a Mustang. Am I correct?
Oh, yes, that's a Mustang. Yeah. Well, I just enjoy driving old cars. That's a manual, left-hand drive, manual Mustang, and it's got nothing in it except some windscreen wipers.
So is there some sort of, what is it, a connection to the past? Is it,
probably is.
Something something great or something beautiful?
No, I used to go and watch back in the late 60s, 70s, Bob Jane, Norm Beachy.
Oh, wow.
Alan Moffat, Alan Gagan. No, his name's not Alan Gagan. Anyway, I used to go and watch all those, just like them. Don't know why it is. Hardly drive don't have a modern car. Well, I have a modern car, hardly drive it. But I don't know what the enjoyment is.
All I can say is, on this topic, because you said to me, if I want to go lateral, I can. But I drove in the Celebrity Grand Prix. Okay, that's no big deal.
Adelaide or here?
Here,
yep.
In a Z3 BMW. Anyway, that's fine, and you go for your license, which is the CAMS license.
Yep.
And when you come in and you're going for the test, I've never had someone say to this before, you're not driving fast enough, because you're out there driving as fast as you can. You're not driving fast enough. But then I went on to drive the sponsor car for the what's the other race besides the Formula One? The
V8s.
Yeah, for the I drove the sponsor car for the V8,
yep.
And which meant I was at the front of the field, and so I was driving this day, and it was a bit wet, and I had two competition winners sitting in the back seat wearing normal seat belts, no helmets, nothing, and I was going around there pretty quick. Now I got in with the not the referee, the guy the guy that's in charge of all the racing. He sits next to me, and I go, "Don't worry, I won't go too fast because we don't want to upset the competition winners." He goes,
"The overseer from CAMS."
Yeah, yes, that would be the one. Yes. Yep. So I said, he goes, "Oh no, come on, mate, you got to give it a bit of a squirt." I go, "Okay, well, they want a bit of a thrill, right?" So it's a bit wet. I do all the corners quite well. I get round to that last corner, the one before, that last corner before you come into the straight. I thought, I know this corner. I will give them a bit of fun. I hit it and threw it into a full 360.
And they would have thought you did that on
purpose.
Oh,
well, they and then I stalled it, and I had the full field coming behind me. The crowd is going nuts. I'm about to be hit by the full field. I just managed to start it and nip down into the to the cockpit lane or whatever it's called and get out of the way. So when you try to show off, it doesn't always work out necessarily. But to have the full field behind you, pretty scary stuff. Amongst all the things that I mentioned you'd done, I didn't mention you the executive producer of a show called Ronnie John's Half Hour. Is that correct? That is correct. What was that? I must be honest, I hadn't heard of the Ronnie John's Half Hour. Was that on television? That was on television. That was for during how long? I would imagine that was probably for one season. And what was it? It was a comedy. It was a sketch comedy show. I was during a period where I wanted to give back, so to speak, and I went along
to the comedy festival and looked at some people and thought, well, I think these people would do well in a sketch comedy show, and we put them into production in Sydney, and it did very well. People received it very well. I'm not sure. And it didn't go on to anything after that, and some of the people went on to remain in the industry. Others didn't. It was one of those shows that came and went, but I had a lot of fun doing it. I was just a person who would put my eye over things and put my little bit in, but I didn't have a lot of control of the output because I let them do what they do. The trick to good producing is allowing people to trusting them and saying, I trust you as a performer. Now go and create some art, and if it works, we'll do it again. And if it doesn't work, we won't do it again. And it worked.
So of all the characters you've done, and for the TV ads, do you come up with the humour,
that's
comedy?
A good question.
Do you have to think what would resonate with people, or do you have writers submit stuff to you, or do you feel comfortable trying to work out what you think would be good for you to make people interested and laugh? The general rule is that I'm very lucky that I work with great people. And I've got to say, I've worked with the best in the country, from the Kath Kim people to the Working Dog people to the people at Fast Forward and the Comedy Company. And when you go on to work with new projects, I'm lucky enough that my opinion is valued. Often they will say, can you bring that character to the table? Can you do? But they will always value my opinion, and I will invariably write. Kath Kim was written totally by the girls, but that character kind of existed in another show called Fast Forward, that the girls took it from being a sketch character and made it into more of a three-dimensional character. And then with the likes of Russell Coight, that was created by Tom Gleisner at Working Dog, and we discussed it, and we just went away one weekend, and he said, we're just going to have a play around. I'm going to aim a camera at you, and let's see how we can be funny around farm equipment. And basically that was it. So I'm very lucky that my opinion is valued, but I do align myself with very, very smart people, and I'm very smart to align myself with smart people who know what they're doing. The likes of Tom Gleisner, Rob Sitch, Santa Chilaro, Jane Turner, Gina Riley. These are incredible people, and history has shown how good they are, and I'm very lucky that I've got to work with them. So when people think, I'm just not in your class, but when people think you've sort of got...
Let me just say something right here. You were one of the first people to come up to me and give me a compliment from the I'm going to say the other side, meaning there's the television industry and then there's the comedy industry. You were one of the first people that came up to me, and you were very, very complimentary, not because you had to. You didn't know me that well, but you put your arm around me and you said some very, very kind words, and I never forgot that, because you didn't need to say it, and I really valued it because you were part of something outside of my industry, so to speak. I mean, I know you were still in comedy, but I valued that opinion of yours, and whenever I spent time with you, I always got that energy from you. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Yeah. I tried to be vaguely comical in the footy show.
You did incredibly well. You knew your role, and I know you probably don't. You knew your role, and you knew exactly how to play your. And did you cross the line? On occasion, you did, but that's what happens. Yeah. You crossed the line, but most of all, you were endearing, and you were charming, and you were absolutely. You took it on the chin, and you made yourself often the butt of the joke, which is what a true comedian can do.
And I think now, without just rubbing ourselves up too savagely, but I think if you don't take yourself too seriously, which you don't, in the roles that, well, obviously in the roles that you've played, the characters you've played, you don't take yourself too seriously.
Well, I probably do. I probably do take myself seriously in that I do. There is a level of control, meaning that if it's going to go off, I'm going to be the one that takes it there. I'm not going to have someone who doesn't know what they're talking about telling me where to take it. No, so that would be no, mate. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm not going to listen to you. And so therefore, I do. In terms of the people I'm with, there is levels of control.
No, there's a serious business being funny.
Absolutely.
But when the persona you give, doing all the Kel Knight But Kel Glare, I got him on the brain, Kel Glare, and Russell Coight and Uncle Arthur. Looking at you doing it, you think that, man, it's good he doesn't take himself. He's sending himself up. On camera.
Yeah, I will. I was asked to play someone smart in a series once, and I just went, you know what? I don't play the smart guy that well. I play the guy who thinks he's smart and he's not. I play the dumb guy. I play the buffoon better than I play the smart guy. So I didn't take the role, and I'm pretty right on that. All I do is I just look into sides of myself and I go, how would I react in that situation? And invariably, if I push that a little bit, it opens up some sort of. I mean, if the further you go into that side of yourself, you eventually become funny.
This is not your filmography, which is on the Google machine. This is your television. I'll just when you've had enough, just tell me to stop. This is Prisoner, 1,000 Skies, Special Squad, The Flying Doctors, The Comedy Company, Tonight Live with Steve. Fast forward.
You can stop now.
There is another three swipes of that on there. It's an extraordinary body of work. It's an extraordinary body of work, and
I don't know what I'm not sure what I can say, but yeah, occasionally I do look at that and go, "Wow,
no, it's fantastic."
I did do that. That's impressive.
No, it is. It's so the Mitsubishi people must be very happy with you.
I can say. I mean, you know, when you do a commercial, there is part of your.
Merv Hughes is slugging it out with some other Sanyong, and not sure if anyone else is doing car ads, but
you don't want to look like you're selling out or you're doing something for the sake of making money. But that came along because I did a little. There's a show called Have You Been Paying Attention that I've been on regularly, Tom Mitsubishi was one of the sponsors of that show, and they asked me to come out one day and do a little bit of a Russell Coight on one of the parody ads that Tom does on the show, and then we did it and we went, that felt good. I wonder if anyway, so that sort of lit the flames, planted the seed for them to maybe take a little bit further, and the process of trying to keep a client happy and an advertising agency happy and be authentic to the character is tricky, but luckily we worked with very good people and we were able to achieve that, and good on Mitsubishi for taking a risk, because the owners of Mitsubishi, who live in another country, would not have anything, would not know who Russell Coight is or what he does or even why it's funny. So good on them for taking a risk. And I can tell you that it won an award called the Effie Award, which is meaning that it's kind of like the Gold Logie of advertising, which I was quite surprised, which is effectiveness, meaning it sold a shitload of cars. And that's what you do ads for. And of course you're paid very well. But as I said earlier, we get to go because normally with a production company, normally we will go out and shoot Russell Coight with, say, I don't know, 6 people, 8 people. We had a production crew of like 50 or 60 people. So it's a lot of fun when you don't have to do all the heavy lifting in that department, and you get to go and do all those fun little jokes and have stunt people and people building things for you. We kind of, in a lot of ways, made it up as we went along with Russell Coight. We'd get out there and just start mucking around. We had a few jokes, but when you have a full production team behind you, it basically is the difference between making a film and making television, and it's a lot of fun. So if people think I've sold out, well,
I don't
think they do think
humour
that.
on those ads.
Well,
they're too subtle, but it's subtle when you're creeping up and suddenly the birds fly over or the handbrake goes off and all that. It's just subtle.
All I'll say in that department is stay tuned.
Oh yes, because you've been signed up for another season.
I'm not saying that.
It's the Effie Awards, not named after our great friend Mary Custis, are they? Effie?
No, I think it comes from, effectiveness is short for.
Oh, effectiveness, is it? Yeah.
I don't know, you'd never think me as an effective person, but apparently that's what Russell Coight is.
So in the comedy company you worked along, was Kylie Mole on that?
Yeah, correct.
that was someone Fay, wasn't it?
Marianne Fay, correct. Yeah, Marianne Fay, Kylie Mole,
Colin Carpenter, Con the Fruiterer.
Colin Carpenter, that's Con the Fruiterer. See,
hello, gentlemen, may you lay. Now, there's an interview that you would do well on in this program to talk about Mark Mitchell. Fascinating interview.
I've got a photograph of me and Con the Fruiterer, and I went up to him one day. It was Mark Mitchell. I say, mate, I love you as... I reckon he bit the dust because of the politically correct world we're in. He couldn't take off. Greek people or Italians.
I defy anyone to be in a room when Mark Mitchell is doing Con the Fruiterer and not laugh very, very hard because the energy that character gives out.
I've got a picture on my phone of me and Con the Fruiterer.
I interviewed him on our podcast the other day. It was hilarious.
Fantastic.
Because he dropped into, over the phone, he dropped into numerous characters. And it was just, it's sad that he's not doing as much as should be doing more. Something like this he should be doing.
Yeah, but... See, people would round how you could take offence at anything he said, moolah, goolah, boolah, and all. How you could take offence at any of that. I used to love him.
Yeah, there you go.
So there's you would know this term well, and Eddie Maguire is one of these people. There's a term in the industry, if you like, of being generous, not stepping over anyone, not knifing anyone, letting them have their time when it's there on camera or behind a microphone, not trying to one-up them. All the people you've worked with, is Working Dog, is that...
Rob Sitch, Santo Chilaro, Tom Gleisner.
Yes, Tom Gleisner. That's their Working Dog.
That's Working Dog, correct. People. Yeah, they won the award for the production.
All the people you've worked with, Kath and Kim,
I'm getting worried now.
All generous and all would be a great family without, I would think, unless you're going to tell me something different, no backstabbing and no, it's just like a team. You're as good as the weakest link, and we all help each other to be. That's the way we looked at the footy show, anyhow.
Yep. So, what's your question?
The question is: did you found everyone you worked with to be absolutely supportive and generous, or were there times when you thought, no, why am I doing this? Why am I here?
That's a very good question. You would think that...
maybe you won't mention the title or the names of people, but were the situation where you think, no, this is not me, why am I doing this?
No. All the people you've mentioned, no, there's been utmost respect. And so as much as I would, could give you some inside information or maybe go down a road that's a little bit salacious, the answer is no. I have been incredibly lucky. The interesting thing is that I have been, not that I'm a gun for hire, but I get to step into the world of Working Dog. I get to step into the world of Kath and Kim. I go into the Bogan world and I step back out again. So... what an absolute honour it is. I get to play with the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and, the Seekers. Okay, that's a bad analogy. But I get to have fun with all of them, and they respect my opinion and my judgment, as I said before. And I got to say, it doesn't get any better than that. So no stories in that department.
Who on the world stage or the Australian stage makes you laugh?
Well, that's a very good question too. I must admit, when I was about 9 or 10, my mother took me to see Barry Humphries in a show at I forget, it might have been the comedy, anyway, it was a show called Load of Old Stuff. Barry Humphries doing characters. I don't think I understood what he was talking about, but I knew at that age that I said, Mum, that's what I want to do. So I basically wanted to do comedy characters, hide behind them if you like. And so Barry Humphries is huge up there. And then I eventually got to work with him.
He was extraordinary, Barry Humphries.
Extraordinary.
I know you can't show any of it. That Celeste Patterson, if that doesn't make you laugh, I don't know what does. Some of the interviews you did with Mike Willisey about...
He crossed the line.
Did he cross the line?
And he was naughty and he was wrong and he was rude. And the funny part is, if you took that material and just gave it to some bloke to do it straight up, there's something childlike in us when we see a character.
No, he jumped right into it.
Yeah. I guess Bert Newton, in terms of being yourself in front of the character, not hiding behind a character. He was very inspirational. I loved to watch Bert when I was a little kid. I'd sit on the couch there, Graham Kennedy. You're old enough to remember Graham in Melbourne Tonight, and to see those guys, and not unlike what you did on the footy show, the playfulness, and what is happening at that point of time is real, and they are absolutely having fun. So to watch Bert and to learn from Bert and to eventually become a friend was a real honour.
And probably Paul Hogan probably put us on the international.
That's exactly right. Yep,
just with a simple rigour on the Sydney Harbour Bridge and taking that to where he took it.
And finding him, this is what I think is funny. And not only Australia found it funny, the world found it funny and incredible what he did with that film. That really, not that this whole thing of sucking up to the American market. I don't have a lot of time for it. Like we're being blessed by them. I really don't care if they do like or don't like what we do because what we do is heartfelt and authentic.
Absolutely. But as opposed to contrived
for that market.
Yes.
Yeah. So if they like it, great. But it doesn't mean we have to sort of bow down to their greater judgment or hope I can make it there or whatever. I think. But having said that, it was testament to the great writing of that film, especially.
So just to finish this, have any of your characters, do any of the things that you've been in get played on a regular basis overseas? Like I know the Home and Away and whatever. Neighbours, is anyone overseas seen Kel?
Kath Kim
ever seen Kel Knight or Uncle Arthur, or have they ever seen Russell Coight? Surely they must have seen Russell Coight over in America, haven't they?
Kath Kim has a very solid following in the UK, especially in the industry. So I meet a lot of big name people who adore Russell. Kath Kim. Yep. So Kath Kim, Russell Coight, I'm not as sure as. I had a funny instance where I was on an aeroplane flying into the Maldives at about 2:00 in the morning. I was sitting next to this lovely woman who was from Singapore, and she didn't know where I was from, and we were chatting away. And at that time, Kath Kim was on. I was watching Kath Kim. Now, I watch Kath Kim on a flight sometimes.
On the in-flight entertainment.
Yeah, on the in-flight entertainment. Yeah. I'll have a look. Oh, I remember that episode. Oh, that was good. Oh, there we go. There. Anyway, she says to me, where are you going? And I'm going on a trip to the Maldives. What do you do? And what do you do for a living? Now, at that point, I quite arrogantly grabbed the screen and pointed to myself.
Fantastic. That's brilliant.
Shat herself and tried to wake her husband. He didn't know what was going on. People started talking. I did it because I could, but so I'm not internationally known, but to some circles I might be.
That's brilliant. Yeah, just to be able to point to the
point to the
me right there,
right now. Right there.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now. I said this at the start. I'll say thank you very much for coming in, and you'll say, "Oh, gee, is there anything that you should tell me that with people you've met, people you'd like to meet, people who you haven't found to be have the reputation that you thought they had, or is there any other things that you might tell us that I couldn't possibly know about?"
Yeah, that's a really good question. Again, it's a very good question. I like to think that I do continue to take risks, and I'm probably better at taking other people's judgment of me than my own. People will often say to me, "Will you do this or that?" And I invariably say no. And then they keep on asking, and if I trust their judgment, and if they're good people, like I've been lucky enough to work with, I will go with your judgment of me, not my own, because I believe I wouldn't be very good. And the panel was a perfect example of that. I didn't believe I deserved to be on a show like that, and I trusted their judgment and ended up having a wonderful time doing that show. So the answer is, I hope I continue to take risks, and I hope I'm very lucky that I have made people laugh, and it is an absolute honour to have done that. I have had a lot of people come up to me after COVID saying thank you for helping me through a really tough time. And if it doesn't get any better than that, than helping people through a hard time. Fantastic. And I had a woman come up to me the other day. She said, "I listened to your podcast and I'm going through a really bad divorce at the moment, and the only thing that keeps me happy during the week is listening to you." Now, that It's an absolute honour. If you're making people laugh and feel good, gee, I am incredibly lucky, and I hope I can continue to take risks and do stuff that is for the love of what I do, not just for the sake of being on telly, because certainly haven't in the past.
25 years older than you. I've seen
but you're doing incredibly well, and I watch people like you.
I've seen you from the start. And
you were one of the first, as I said.
Yeah, so I've seen you blossom into being the star you are. And now Sue was just mouthing something. Was that? Would you like
wrap it up? I think she probably said.
No. Would you like Glenn to take me for? Was that you said? Would you like him to take me a drive in the car? No, what were you saying?
No, caravan trip around Australia. You're going to be Russell.
Oh. No, we went. So I'm going to be Russell. There's only one Russell Coight. No, we were going to go. We are going on a caravan around Australia. We went on a boat.
Well, I watched your video, and you painted an incredible picture of what it is to do things that you love. I remember getting on that boat with you one day. It was you and me and a couple of other people, and you put it in automatic drive, or however you do that, automatic pilot, and you stood at the front of that boat, and it was like you said something like, I love the world, or what is that from the Titanic? I'm the king of the world, and you looked very, very happy out there.
Yeah, I would never say I was the king of the world under any circumstances. I'll just give you this offer now. There is a faster car out there. It's the only one.
You're pointing out there too. I didn't want to mention that because I don't know whether that was private business.
There's a Lamborghini out there. If you ever wanted to take or see if you could contact the people you drove around the circuit in, those people who won an award and sat in the back of the car, take them for a ride in that. I'll give you that car. If you want to give someone a thrill,
Sam, you
take them for a ride out somewhere in that. Because that's like one of those dragsters. That's just a rocket on wheels.
That's very kind of you. I'm lucky enough to have one of these new cars that has 28 cameras, 15 beeper systems, and I still can't fucking park the thing. I backed into a wall the other day because I ignored the beepers. I think I can use the mirrors. I ignored it and put a big scrape down the Q5, and so I wouldn't be lending me a car, but thank you for the offer. I'd sit in the passenger seat while you drove. I've got to admit, I did a lap down at Phillip Island the other day, and there was a Porsche day down there, and now I'm bragging, but it was very, very exciting. You would have done one of those days where you just get to drive very, very fast, and you would be a good driver, I would imagine. Yeah, you're hesitating. I know you are.
No, I've said quite openly I'd be in the top 1% drivers in Australia. Top 1%. I know the rules. I drive a car better than, not the professionals. There'd be no amateur who drives a car better than me.
I'm waiting for the bit that comes after.
No, that's it. I'm telling you that now.
Oh, there you go. And if you are good at something,
just tell people.
You're allowed. People need to say it more. But people are so reluctant to go, you know what, I did that really well. Sometimes I'll hit a putt on the golf course and go, that was a brilliant putt.
We were at the footy show. I said until I outwore the welcome of the sponsors being part of the footy show. Nissan used to sponsor the footy show, and we went down with the GTR down to Phillip Island on a drive day down there, and I took James Brayshaw. You ever been to GTR Nissan? They are twin turbo. They're very quick. They are as quick as any car on the road. I took James for a ride because I used to race cars. I took him for a lap around Phillip Island, and we got to the first turn, and because you drive as hard as you can into the turn and then you brake. You're either on the accelerator or you're on the brake. And we got halfway around, he said, stop. We never completed a lap. I had to pull over. And he said, I'm not going any further in this.
He got scared.
And I was driving the thing beautifully. But that's the difference.
That's how quick you can go. Well, I on that topic, I have a little quick story that I can tell you that I was asked to do a charity day for Porsche, and they took me over
to where they would on a skid pan where they put you in a Porsche and they spin you around and round and round and round, and it was for challenge, and the kids were getting in there and they said, Glenn, would you like to get into the Porsche and do and the driver will spin you around in circles and it will be fun and everything. And then I get out and the organizer said would you like to drive the Porsche? And I went, oh gee. Now you know what a CAMS license is, don't you?
I do.
So the driver comes over and they go to the owner of the Porsche, can Glenn drive the Porsche? And he goes, oh, gee, I don't know about that really. It's probably one of the most expensive Porsches in the country. I'm a little bit nervous. Can you drive? I've played my trump card. I said, I've got one
of the best 1% drivers.
No, but not far off it. I said, well, I've got my CAMS license. And he went, not impressed. So I go, well, I can't do anything better than that. What he thought I said was, I've got my cab license. No wonder so I can get you to South Melbourne really quick, mate. No worries at all. I've got my cab license. I've got this covered.
Well, this has been the most pleasurable hour. You couldn't believe
Was that an hour?
You couldn't believe we've spoken just as it's ticked over now, 15 seconds past the hour. I've been speaking to the great Glenn Robbins, a.k.a. Kel Knight, Uncle Arthur, Russell Coight, and a host of other people. Well. And he is a star. And 2 years I've been asking him to do this, and we've finally done it. And I really appreciate
what a pleasure it is, because you know what, I don't profess to know much about football, but there'll be another time I would like to come in, because I have a number of rules that I want to change about football to make it a better game. And who is the last person that you should listen to? Me. But I would still love to put them out there. So I'm putting the offer out to you that I will come onto your football show one day and I will present to you rules that will improve the game, and you'll all sit back and go, why didn't we think of that ourselves?
That would resonate with me no matter what they are, because the game needs help. Just its spectacle, not its excitement or the fan base. The way it's played needs help.
But this is where I'm coming from, and I am not an expert.
Glenn Robbins, thank you so much.